if you can figure out how to make one song, it's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds, but like it's, something about it is, is like so palatable and so like, reaches the masses because there's this unifying like melody that draws you in, or it's like the way you phrased, you said so much with just a couple words.
G, thank you so much for joining us. The world famous G-Eazy is with us today, dropping jewels, dropping knowledge. For those of you that don't know, this man has 3 platinum records. He has songs, Me, Myself, and I, that have gone 7 times platinum. That's not the only song that he has that's gone multiple times platinum. Very, very interesting man, deep man. And we're honored to have him here on the show to tell us how his journey has been to becoming one of the most famous and prolific artists in the industry. So G, thanks for joining us, my bro.
Man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. That's a hell of an introduction. I appreciate it from you.
But it's all no cap. It's all true.
Yeah.
So tell us where you are, what you're working on, and where's your head at these days, bro?
Man, it's been a journey. Hearing you say that and the subject of, your book and the podcast and just like reflecting on like the overall journey is just like, it's crazy when you get so like, day to day, sometimes you forget, you know what I mean? Until you like when you're hiking, you just like, one step at a time until you like, you get to some of those vantage points and you look back and you're like, damn, like we came away, man.
You did, and as you know, like the name of my book that's coming out in July is The Gift of Failure, and this podcast we've used this gift of failure, which a lot of people, they look at failure as this like negative thing, right? It's like it has this baggage around failing, and this, that, and the other. But being someone that's you know this personally, when we were at my house in the hills just talking for a minute and I gave you some obscure mixtape line of something that you said. I'm a fan of everything that you do because first of all, you're smart and brilliant, and I'm a encyclopedia of of this genre of music. But there's one thing that you said early on in one of the older records about thinking that you were going to go sign a big record deal.
Yeah.
And again, I won't give the exact bars, which I do know, but it's effectively, you went back on the plane, you're sitting there, you thought you were signing the record deal. It didn't work out. You're on your way home and you actually considered quitting music, whether it was fleeting, but the way the line goes. Can you explain what that failure of not getting that record deal and not quitting music actually led to in hindsight?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I was actually just telling a friend this story the other day. Because it's one of the most pivotal moments I think in my life and my career. It's a very defining moment. I was 19, I believe. I'd been already doing music for since I was like 13 or so, and I watched some friends of mine in high school blow up. It was a group called The Pack. They had a song called Vans. Got my Vans on, but you know what I mean. And like they were like. It was one of the most surreal experiences because it showed me like it could happen. Like, they went from like seeing them at school to like seeing them on MTV and BET.
And how old were you?
I was 16. So it's like, so this thing that you're in love with, like, your peers that are also doing it, your friends, like it just worked for them. And it's so crazy because it's like you believe in this dream, but until you actually see it come true, so that gave me the confidence, but still it wasn't happening for me. So fast forward, I'm like 19 and I got some traction on MySpace with a song and some labels reached out and I felt like, oh my God, like it's about to happen for me. Like, and they fly me out to New York to like, meet with the label and put me up in a hotel and take me to dinner.
And did your mom go with you? Because I know you and your mother are very, very close. Did you go alone to the big city? Like you didn't have anybody with you?
Yeah, no, it was just me, and it was my first time in New York, and I'm taking pictures of everything on my like Samsung or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah. With your BlackBerry?
Like 2009 or something, 2008. man, I even took like pictures of my hotel room. I was like, I'd never been in, you know what I mean? Like, and I go out there and I'm telling all my friends, I'm about to get signed. I'm about to get signed. This is, your dream come true. You're signing a record deal.
Yeah.
And long story short, man, we, met with the label and they just kind of didn't see it and they passed.
Did they pass in the room? Like, did they give you some
Oh
false,
man,
like,
nah, nobody's that straight up, man, especially not in this industry. They say, okay, yeah, no, okay, well, yeah, we're gonna be in touch, They
yeah,
want
so
to get
that
paid
and so and then did you
for home.
find out in New York that it wasn't gonna work? So with that whole plane ride home, you're, like, ruminating over, "I thought I was gonna get signed, the rug got pulled under," or did you find out later?
No, it was, I mean, you could read the room, that it just hadn't been said. So when I was going home, I was like, wow. And like, part of that, it made me like question myself at that time. I'm a vulnerable, like 19-year-old,
Yeah.
who's just like, ambitious as fuck, but at the same time, like naive and young, you know what I mean? It's still sensitive.
You're
And
still
like,
19, bro.
yeah, he's still 19. And like, I had a hard time not telling myself, like, damn, like, what if I'm not it? What if I'm not the real deal? Like, look, they flew me out, they took a good look at me and they decided, no, these are supposed to be so
Yeah.
in that moment, it was either like, I could quit right now. And a part of me, considered it because it was just like, well, damn, if this really isn't gonna work, I gotta consider something. What am I gonna do for myself in my life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I just never fell out of love with it. And I think that's what has been the key the whole time, because it's like if you love what you fucking do and that's why you do it and you're passionate, then you're gonna do it all the time regardless. You're not doing it just for a fucking check or something like that. You know what I mean? You validate yourself. Like, and I just, anything you do a lot, you get better at naturally, and if you get better at something by doing it every single day, you increase your chances of, somebody seeing it
It's a
or
science. I
reaching the
mean,
world. Yeah, it's literally,
yeah.
so I just kept going and I carried that chip on my shoulder and let it motivate me. And
Chip on your shoulder is more like a boulder, huh?
yeah. Man, you do know these lyrics.
You know I do. You
Yeah,
know I
yeah.
do. But I'm
Uh,
also a fan, bro. I like
yeah.
I love what you do and I've said that before, but I also am cursed with a didactic memory. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that chip's more of like a boulder.
Yeah.
You and I and the real G fans know exactly what I mean by that.
But I think a lot of successful people, like, you have to like go through those times of like, you know, of being counted out or doubted or not believed in or, going against the grain. And it makes you that much stronger, man. Like I'm forever grateful I didn't get signed at that age, at that time.
So that failure, so bring it to just to put a bow on that. So in that moment was a failure, a downtime, a fucking kick in the teeth, questioning
Yeah,
your entire identity.
yeah.
Actually, in retrospect, was probably one of the best things that happened to you. Is that fair
Best,
to say?
best ever, ever, ever. It just made me dig deeper
Beautiful.
and also like the maturity that's required, that failure brings to you, and the growing up that has to take place. And especially for me as an artist, like I had to figure out, if that song had blown up that, they were interested in at the time, I wouldn't want to be known for that song. It was I didn't want to talk about it.
But can you send it to me though, just so I can hear it, please? Just
Maybe,
offline.
maybe. I don't even know if it's on the internet. I've worked pretty hard to like delete it from the depths of the internet. But
Bro, you're hard on yourself. I'm sure it's fire.
yeah, nah, but yeah, I mean, and I just worked harder, like just put my head down and worked harder.
Did it take you a while to transition, like, getting off that plane and scraping yourself
Yeah,
off the ground before
yeah,
you
no,
got back? Like, how long did it take to get back in the studio to say, "Alright, I need to get the pen I need to get the pen, the pad, my cra" like, was there, like, a week, 2 days, a
there was
month?
probably yeah, there was probably a week, and then even like zooming out, it was still another like 2 years almost before
Damn.
like the traction happened. You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
know, but I'm saying that was a soul-crushing
Oh my
moment.
god, yeah, dude, and I mean, you're broke, like, you're only getting older, you're chasing this like, kind of selfish dream to an extent, you know what I mean? At a point, there's certain like responsibilities that, a man just has to like, and my mom, who, I was extremely, extremely close with, um, she had lost her job right around then. Her health wasn't doing so good. So I felt like as like a firstborn, like man of the house, like that I had to, like I had a responsibility of like I had to, I had to make it almost, and I didn't have
And
to
by the
try and
way,
do.
not to cut you off, but and if it's a sensitive subject for you, there's a couple things that I think a lot of people don't really under know about you, or I don't think, is there was a man that was very close to your mother at a point that passed away when you were young. Is that story
Yeah,
accurate? And
a woman. Yeah.
it was
Yeah. Yeah, she was when I was in high school, she was with a woman.
she was with a woman, and then the woman passed away, from what I understand. And then did you find the body yourself? Is that right?
Yeah.
And is that, if you're comfortable with it, like, I have to believe that moment had to have some sort of deep emotional response, and is some of that maybe a catalyst into, because a lot of the bars and the stuff, like when you're in that vibe and you're on that wave sometimes, but sometimes you have a level of rage that comes out that is palatable and you can feel it,
Mhm.
in a very visceral way, especially for someone like me. Did that affect any of that for you?
Yeah, for sure. And I've shared music can be a healing agent for the person who writes it and the person who experiences it, listens to it, and identifies with it. And, me sharing that story so publicly, like in a song, was healing for me in a sense. And I've heard from, countless fans who, have identified with the song, and it's helped them like get through. But I definitely think that pain and trauma and like struggle, like these things can be motivating driving forces, for people, as long as you channel it into something productive and something like you know something moving forward, something
And is
strong.
that a day-to-day bat, like, for, I know for me, running a uh, not small business, as you know, has, its issues, as we all know. But for
Mhm.
me personally, people say, "Oh, it's take it one day at a time." For me, I'm taking it one email at a time. I'm taking it 1 minute at a time, or the self-doubt of, that comes through of, "Oh, can we do this? We're building, this multi-billion dollar, trillion dollar platform. Like, can we do it? Is it going to work? Or we this?" Or like, how do you deal with that yourself as an artist, knowing that you've reached this level of greatness? What does success now mean to Gerald, not to G-Eazy? Like, what does success means to Gerald?
Well, I mean, it's such a like subjective question,
But just whatever comes to
Yeah,
mind
no,
first.
no, for sure. The first thing I think of is not, like monetary or even like, quantifiable like commercial success at this point or something like that. It's contribution. It's like it's having something to say and contribute and impact and do and help or like shift, or you know what I mean? So it's like it's having purpose, I guess, you
And,
know.
and you do. And I'll ask you another question that I found to be interesting about your career is, you know, your fan base loves you. Like, and there's a lot of other, artists, might be bigger, might be smaller, might be whatever, and you see they follow them, they do whatever, but the level of love that you get seeing from the outside, and obviously we have a lot of mutual friends, as you
Mhm.
we've come to figure out in these discussions, and the way they talk about you. Do you think that comes from your authenticity as a human being? Like, what would you have to say of, and I know I'm putting you on the spot like that, of, you know, why do you feel like they relate to you as much? I have a belief about why I think it is. I think it's an authenticity, vulnerability issue, but is there a reason why you have such a great connection with your fan base and with people in general?
That's what I would. I mean, that's what I would lean to and attribute it to. Because at the end of the day, man, it's like, we're all human, and I think, for musicians, for people we like look up to or aspire to or like, admire or whatever, it's like there's some level of like relatability that you identify with and that you kind of like connect with, so to speak. So it's like, just speaking to the the real human experience in a way that, that's authentic and honest and, with integrity and, you know in class.
Yeah, and what I love is like I don't think the record got enough recognition personally, but Reverse with Vic Mensa was
Mhm.
uh, like complete fucking dummy. And Vic is a good friend of mine, and he was on the podcast. Before we didn't talk about it, but he's a very, very deep man, very spiritual man, just a great person. And I wonder as your career begins to advance and you go to the next place, as you're no doubtably going, and we watch, just the way you've reinvented your style, becoming a fashion icon, becoming, this thing that is a lot bigger than just a rapper. Again, watching from the outside, I wonder, like, what's next for G? Like, meaning, like, is it obviously the music, the fact, all those things clearly they come out of you, you're an artist, but are there other endeavors that you're working on that you want to share with some people now of understanding other organizations, ideas, concepts that you're starting to percolate as an artist and how that could lead to what you will now define as success of maybe you didn't
Yeah,
see as
no,
success
sure.
earlier?
Um, I definitely want to act. I definitely want to
Oh,
act.
you would destroy it. Like you I mean, look, you have I can't I grew up in a family of actors. My stepdad's a dean of theater arts at one of the major universities in Texas.
Mhm.
My aunt owned a big acting studio. I probably couldn't act to save my life, but I mean,
You can do it.
I
You
think you
can
should do
definitely
it.
do it. Yeah. No, I definitely I want to act at some point. Find the right roles. I want to write a book eventually, man. I like, that's something I'll have to pick your brain about.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help you in any way that I can.
Yeah.
We got a squad of, really, really smart people that have helped me put my book together because with my schedule and like your
Yeah.
schedule,
Yeah,
you
man.
know, it's hard, but with the right team that can capture that, I think would be great because just a lot of these stories are I mean, these are super inspirational. I mean, you single-handedly in my mind, you're putting your city on the map, you're checking every one of the boxes, you're doing it in an industry that is not easy, and you're dominating. So, is it going to slow down? Am I going to get like a Black Album like notification one day is going to come out, or is G going to keep just keep doing this shit?
The thing is, like, man, I remember you said Black Album, like that's my favorite Jay-Z. That album is
By
actually
the way, it is his best album. Blueprint One, maybe,
yeah.
but Black Album is is my
Yeah,
favorite Jay-Z album
and
by
and
far.
and to me, I was like the right age, like where like I mean, I was probably 5 years old when Illmatic came out. Like I like Illmatic, what I mean? Like one of my favorite.
I'm a lot older than you. I remember
But
ripping off the tape of Illmatic,
yeah.
like for real.
So, but Black Album came out when I was, I think, 14, and it was right around the time I was starting to make music.
Yep.
And I'm listening to Jay-Z, and I had this moment where, like, and this is the foolishness that's the requirement to like want to be successful. Listening to
Stay
Hov,
hungry, stay foolish. Steve
stay hungry,
Jobs.
stay foolish, because I had this moment, and it was like another defining moment where I was like, if I'm gonna do music, I want to chase him. Like I want to aspire to him. Like,
Right?
you know what I
To
mean?
be an
But
icon, to be
yeah, no,
bigger than
period,
music, to be
period,
and look
period.
what he's doing now.
Like,
He's at cover of Tiffany's and this and
yeah,
but that
so
was
like, and I remember at that time, like, him saying he was gonna retire off that album, but one thing I would always talk to my mom about, because she was an artist, um,
She was
is
your
that,
mother was an artist?
yeah, she was an
I
art
didn't know
professor.
that.
Yeah, she was a photographer.
I'd love to see some
The
of that
thing is,
work if you share it sometime.
yeah, for sure. But we talk about how, like, creatives, artists, we don't really retire, because it's like it's what we do. It's what
It's who
drives
you
us.
are.
It's who we are, dude. And it's like it's like sports. Your body will tell you when you can no longer perform at a certain level, like competitively.
Totally.
Like, your body just breaks down, and it notifies you when, like, the road is done. But like,
Exactly.
as long as I have air in my lungs, and my brain is moving, then I'm gonna want to create. I can't imagine retiring from music.
I'll ask you a funny question. So one of my favorite lines on the Black Album, which of course we know the whole thing by heart, both of us, but he has
Mhm.
a line where he says, "I dumbed down for my audience and doubled my dollars. They criticize me for it.
Well,
They'll yell holler.
holler.
If skill sold, truth be told, I'd
Oh,
probably
Bobby
be
G, lyrically, Talib
Talib
Kweli.
Kweli." So my question to you is, one thing that you've done pretty incredibly is, um, you have a way of dropping bars at a almost like, let's say, an 8th grade reading level, but with the depth and the understanding of like super high levels of wisdom. And it's very hard. Like Nas will come, obviously Nas, all hail the godson. He's a,
Mhm.
we have a business relationship with them and their team and stuff, whatever. Love him, top
Yeah,
5 dead or alive, whatever. But I'm saying sometimes you listen to Nas, or you listen to Talib or Mos, or even Common, or when M would bust on cannabis. You're saying I'm using too many complicated lines or
yeah,
whatever. But I'm saying
yeah.
you do it so well with these great complicated stuff, great slant rhyme, intricate topics, but somehow it's effortless for you. How does that work? Like, how are you able to balance the effortlessness of that without losing like the profoundness of the
Yeah.
things that you're saying? Because that to me is really, really interesting.
No, that's a gem, and I appreciate you saying that. I, that's something I'm like aware of and pay attention to, is that, like, if you can find a way, to make something like palatable, or, understandable to a wide audience, while still, like, like carrying, the substance, and the, like, the essence. It's like that's everything. It's like, if you can figure out how to make one song, it's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds, but like, it's, something about it is like so palatable, and so, like, reaches the masses, because there's this unifying, like, melody that draws you in, or it's like the way you phrased, you said so much with just a couple words. It's like
That's
fitting
hard,
everything
bro.
into a tiny box, you know what I mean? But it's like fitting so much into a tiny box, and that being the thing that is, like, universally, like, understandable. Because the thing is, it's like, everybody's not going to listen to, like, the whole entire album, or every but that's the essence of what, like, a single does. It's like it puts everything else on its back, and carries the essence of what everything is to a higher level, because it's like more universally, like, relatable, or understandable, or just,
And so, Einstein used to say, make everything as simple as possible, but no simpler.
yeah. And I mean, take that, like, everybody, fucking, equals MC squared, but, like, it's like everybody doesn't know that everything on the chalkboard. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
all that shit goes into it, but it's like finding a way to, like, sum it up and deliver it, you know.
And by the way, I tell people all the time, like, they come and pitch ideas or pitch deals, or I get that stuff every day, I'm sure, like you do.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I tell people, I'm like, if you can't explain it to me in 30 seconds, you don't understand what the
No,
fuck you're talking about.
no,
Like, meaning, if you got to give me the 5 12 minute power, like, meaning the simplicity is actually the
yeah,
genius. Like,
yeah,
the simplicity, the quick little way, like, yeah. And even like maybe the bar isn't like a crazy, papoose fucking,
yeah,
switch up of a lyric, but it hits you in that deep, visceral way. And I think you've done that, I mean, as well as, anybody. And one of the, you know, two questions I want to ask you, and I'll let you go. I know you're busy, and we'll chop it up in person soon, obviously. But I heard a rumor that you were on tour with Drake back in the day and had to leave because one of your school teachers. So
Yeah.
you were like, what the fuck was that about? Was that college or high school? Like,
Yeah, no, that was
is that
college.
true? Is that a true story?
Yeah, so this is like really early on, like when Drake was first, you know, this is like Best I Ever Had era, before his first album came out, I think. And he was doing like these college
I
tours.
got money to blow.
Yeah, in that era. And so, you know, my manager I met in college, one of the two, um, he interned for. I'll sum this story up quick, but like he interned for a festival in New Orleans called Voodoo Fest. Gets assigned to Lil Wayne's camp, like to help out. Who was headlining that year? And it's like 2008, where like in New Orleans at that like peak Lil Wayne, like going into like coming off Carter 3 and shit, like. And then he just
Wayne's still the peak for me, so we can argue about that another time. But
absolutely. So, you know, he makes such an impression on them anyway. He gets asked to go on tour with Wayne. So like my like best friend in college, like manager goes from, you know what I mean, like overnight, like working for the biggest artist in the world, like and the coolest. And I remember like him calling me one day, and I'm just like I'm still in school, like being like, yo, like there's this kid like on the Young Money bus that I've been hanging out with and like smoking with. You'd probably like his music. It's myspace.com/Drake. And he had put me on a Drake, and you know, and then him and Drake had a bond, you know. So when Drake started touring, he, you know, had Jamil tormented him, and you know, so Jamil would like sneak me onto these Drake shows. I would just go on like as soon as doors open up, you know what I mean? And I was just trying to get exposure, man.
This is a crazy story, by the way.
Middle passed on me, and I'm trying to get my name out there like anyhow, you know what I mean, to get the ball rolling. And so, you know, the irony is like my teacher, you know, saying like, you know, I'm at my limit, G. Like if you miss another class, like I'm gonna have to fail you. And you know, I mean, that's the reality of school, I guess, to some extent. You know what I mean? And also,
that's another discussion.
Yeah, I was there with a scholarship, and I knew if I failed that, it would dip my GPA below the requirement to keep the scholarship. So I was just like, I had to like, you know, and I'd made a promise to my mom and to my grandma, like to, you know what I mean, to see it through and finish college. And I did. And, you know, things ended up working out all right, you know. So, but yeah, man, it's those choices you got to make, man. And it's those sacrifices.
But someone would see that as a failure, drop it with Drake and Wayne's here, and then you're going to do school, and do you really need college to do like, so that's, those are crazy decisions.
I guess I knew in that moment, you know, I had even, you know, that the outside world wasn't validating it for me. I knew in my heart of hearts that this is not the last time I'll cross paths with Drake.
Totally. And clearly it wasn't. You know? Or Wayne.
No,
that's super powerful. You know, one last thing that I'll ask you that I ask, you know, all the people that come on, and I asked Sadhguru about this yesterday too, is if there's one thing that you wish everybody in the world knew, what would it be?
One thing that I wish everybody in the world knew, man, just how important it is to love what you do and find joy in life, and just chase it and be passionate, live passionately.
It's a fucking bar. G, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy man, and there's a lot of wisdom here, and we'll link next time we're in the same city, and we'll chop it up.
All right, brother. Be well.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.